Welcome, just to echo welcome, and thank you to everybody. I've met probably quite a lot of you in this room already. I work with some of you volunteers, and some of you work for different organisations. I feel like I've been opened to welcome arms into Worcester in my first 12 weeks. I've been really astounded with the work that's happened at the Trust. One of those things when you walk into a building, you get a feel for what's going on. My background, I used to work for Action for People. It's a commercial organisation used to look at consultancies for different charitable organisations. I set up a charity called Go, which was to help disabled children over in Berkshire. I also used to run Health Watch in West Berks, and I also used to run the FR Family Information Service. So I've had a very varied background, which has sort of come from disability, from charity and from commercial. So I feel very privileged to be the Chief Exec of Worcester Community Trust, and it's just become apparent just all the hard work that everybody does. And we couldn't do it all without each and every person in this room, which is funders, which is volunteers, which is the city, the county, and all the other charities that we work with. You all play a really important piece in the important work that happens here, so thank you ever so much.
For those who were here last year, we've been going through a little bit of a tough time the 2 years prior to this year from a funding perspective. Changes in funding coming into the organisation, in reality a very difficult period for us to be able to support all the projects that we wanted to do. And first of all, I think maybe I should make this very clear, is that Worcester Community Trust is not about just where our community locations are. We're here for the total city. So the city is roughly 100,000 people. And I just check with Alice, is that true, about 100,000? I'm okay with the number. And we represent the whole of the city. So a lot of the things that we do, both from a community perspective and obviously from a project perspective, is coming from the whole of that city and in reality outside the city as well. So we do pull in from various areas. So I wanted just to bring that point up because this is very important to us as we move forward into the new year. From the previous meeting also, and which is very exciting for us to be able to put back to you as well, is our foundation has become very, very strong to where we were. And that's through the hard work that was done. And even though we've had to move on, particularly with Helen, I'd like it to be recorded, and it's recorded in our minutes, but with here, we're very thankful that she was with us. She did a great job working with Cheryl and the rest of the team, of which a lot are here today. And our foundation has been, and as Faith has already said, has been built on that. So over the last 12 months, we've made some considerable steps going forward. Now that would not have happened if it wasn't for the support that we've had also from the stakeholders. So in reality we have, if you read the accounts, we have four major stakeholders. Number one of that, of course, is between the major amount of money that comes in is through the lettings from community locations. Comes through various areas, but mainly through private, being booked for various functions, commercial, and I think it's roughly about 80-20. 80% community, 20% commercial element of Worcester. So that's very important to us. Number two is lottery funding, which we are going to hear a lot about this afternoon. Number three is city, Worcester City, and I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes, and also county, particularly in the youth programme. Okay, so we're going to focus a lot on, particularly this afternoon, around the city vision and the future, what we're endeavouring to do as far as the impact that we can make through our two very important groups of people. Number one, the people who work for us on a permanent basis, but also we have a phenomenal volunteer base, which has been a very successful part of our growth and our future. So if you look at us from that point of view, from our funding, we're we believe in a good position, but also at the same time, through a very active CEO, we have a very active funding generation also going on with the team, and this is also very important to us. Not forgetting what we're here for, the community. That is what this is all about. That's why you're all here, why a lot of new people have come to see us today as well, is our main aim is what we can do for the people of our city, of whatever age, whatever status within the community itself. By doing that strengthening, I think this is very important as far as the future is concerned. What we also wanted to bring to you is what faith will bring to, by the way, it's a beautiful word to have, faith. What faith and the team will bring to us over the years to come. And I think this is very important, is that the excitement of the future is being able to demonstrate not what we do on a day-to-day basis, but bring more and more inclusion into our centres and outside our centres, both through the day-to-day working, but also fundamentally some very important projects that we work on. So from a trustee's point of view, and Faith will go through this in a bit more detail, we've strengthened the overall trustees in particular areas. So what we've asked for trustees who come with particular skills that can support us in what we're endeavouring to do. However, we can't do it, and this is coming now to the next part, without every single person in this room, both the people who were invited. So I think, unless I'm stealing your thunder, we invited 230 odd people here today. So you can imagine how important your job is to us, to go out and tell everybody exactly what our aims, what our objectives, remembering you should have in front of you, which is going to be mentioned about 20 times, with the WC update. If you go back to the notes of or I should say the minute notes, we're focused on two particular areas. One is, I suppose, well-being, and well-being in the total sense of the word. And the other one is to bring back maybe some values that we need to bring back within our society. And that is a very important thing that all of us can do a part of every single day. And so, if you go away with only one message from my side of it today, sharing is caring.
So I will just run through the facts and figures of the financial report. Right, so the income for the financial year for the period from March 20 to March 2018 was £847,172. And the expenditure was £825,517. This resulted in a net profit of £21,655,000. This is compared to £50,123 at the end of the last financial year. The reason for this drop, or one of the reasons for this drop, is some of the differences here. There was sort of like pre-annual occurrences, and some of those were our maintenance costs. We got billed for our maintenance costs from 2 years ago in 1 year. So we actually paid 2 years worth of maintenance costs in that one financial year. And also the accountancy costs were billed late from the accountants. So we actually got billed twice in 1 year for our accountancy as well. So if those three events hadn't have happened, we would have made a net profit of £32,000. So just to let you know why there's a big difference there. 34% of the income came from project grants. If you take one of the annual accounts, those project grants can be seen on page 13. A big thank you to people who donate to the charity. A lot of those grants coming in from funders were from the Worcester Municipal Charity, Big Lottery Fund, and many other funders that give to us over the that year, particularly for Kids Play. We had some brilliant funding coming in for that. So that accounted for 34% of the income. 29% of the income came from local authorities. 37% came from lettings and activities. Letting income remained at £249,000 for the year. That's exactly the same figure as it was for the previous year, which is very bizarre to happen, but it is. That's something we're working on. If you have a look at our plan, our business plan, Plan 22, this is what I'm helping to try and deliver with all of the staff teams and people here. The target for lettings is to try and bring that figure up to about £315,000. So we have quite a big undertaking there to try and bring people into these centres, to spread the word, as we've heard, sharing and caring. It's trying to get more people aware of where the centres are so we can let them. Restricted funds for projects at the end of the period was £82,983 compared with £31,633 in 2017. The unrestricted reserve, the 31st of March, was £146,000. So it was a really good year. The reserves are always one of those things with charities. It is always what everybody's trying to put funds into reserves. We are still doing that. Our financial position now, we are in a good position. We're in a quite similar position, but we are still trying to put more reserves funding in there. So that's what we try and do with all of our projects. and the teams are working hard to apply for funding. I know this financial year, again I'll mention Helen and Cheryl, they did a fantastic job bringing in funding and helping keep the charity stable. So these accounts have already been approved by the trustees. Can I just check that the trustees still approve the accounts? Yeah. I just wanted to say it was a really fantastic year for the charity. I know that there's been challenges for the charity, not just our charity. I think we've got a lot of charities here. Everybody has been up against it when it comes to funding, when it comes to staff, when it comes to getting volunteers, and keeping that flow of really good work going has been, it's always a challenge. And what I've noticed working with charities, that every single person here goes above and beyond. And this year really shows that, and last year really showed that as well. From the previous year to the year we're reporting on, I know that the staff had to pull together to really get these projects going, and what that has resulted in is probably the biggest amount of output we've had from this charity over that financial year, which is absolutely astounding. And we are still in difficult times, this is the atmosphere that happens across the whole country with charities, but I'm so happy that everybody has pulled together to make everything so positive. And again, I just want to thank all of the funders, all of our partners, all of our stakeholders, all of our volunteers, because all this work is an absolute credit. Working together is so important, and from all of my background, everywhere I've worked with, as soon as you join together with other people and recognise that you have shared goals and shared experiences, you can't get away from that. That's when great things happen. I know we've partnered with other teams to put on lots of projects. We bring them to the building block, we bring them to different projects, we also talk to other charities and work with them. We have to work together to make things work, and that's what we've done. And the charities, as I said, I won't take credit for that year because I wasn't here, but the teams and the partners here, we couldn't have done it without each and every one of you, so thank you. I'm going to show you a video now. This video is going to explain some of the great work. It talks to volunteers and it shows you just how much we did over that year.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So it's always a pleasure to be here amongst friends and amongst many people that I know, many people that I like to get to know. The year this year has been a tremendously busy for a start. My theme this year has been love, not hate, and everybody that I've come into contact with trying to promote that message has taken it on board and has shared that message with me, and I'm getting a tremendous lot of support, and the amount of positivity in the city this year has been fantastic, and hopefully we can feed that and carry that on into our lives and affect other people through it. And only this week we've been voted one of the happiest cities in the UK, and I'm keen, albeit from a small sample, but we'll take any good news that we can get, and hopefully we can feed on the back of that positivity and go and achieve great things. Some of you may know that I originally was on the board of Worcester Community Trust when it first formed, and the transition from the city to independence was going on ahead, and it was rather, I think the original vision was that there would be a smooth transition and a great handover, and that the trust would be financially independent within a certain period of time, and all those great dreams and aspirations that we had weren't fully realised because it wasn't as seamless and it wasn't as trouble-free that we originally envisioned, but with great passion, with great enthusiasm and great work from a lot of people, including Roger Berry, who's just left, including Simon Murphy, who's on the board, Val Yates, and David Klein, God bless him, who was on the board, and in the early years steered that ship into a relatively strong position. Over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had the enormous challenges and difficulties when Richard stepped up to the fore, and his expertise and his brilliance in terms of his leadership skills has kept what was a difficult set of circumstances, and difficult in terms of management and in terms of where the vision for the trust was going, has kept it together. And lo and behold, with Faith coming in, we've turned a new leaf. In my opinion, I've seen the the enthusiasm, I've seen the passion that the management now have in terms of delivering, and with the funding that's been won for the Joy project and all the excellent work that goes on the ground. I've seen that actually there's that the trust has gained the trust of the community, and the community has taken the trust on board to heart. And I think that's the key message here today, is that once you're in that position, then you're able to take forward any plans that you've got. I mean, the key message is from my perspective, looking at it from being on both sides of the Richard, is that is absolutely crucial that each and every one of your service users becomes the ambassador for you out in the community, because by word of mouth and through that trust, then you can build up your business on that, as well as to the employees, who are absolutely crucial in all of this. Because if you don't believe in the vision, and then that chain of unbroken link from the messages from the top will break apart, and doubt will creep in, and once you err from the original path, it will take you twice as long, or 3 times as long to get to the vision that and I don't need to tell you that, Richard, you've been a fantastic support in terms of your business expertise, and hopefully the trust can begin to flourish, and with the partners that are working with it, begin to flourish and become the original ambition that we as a city, and under the guise of, who was it? David, was it Stark? Who was the MD back in the day? He's gone to Milton Keynes, I forget his name.
Talking about Ed?
Duncan Sharkey. Under the Duncan Sharkey, under that vision, at that point, when we can reach that, and what we as collectively, as councillors, envision where the trust is going to be. So I absolutely love the trust. It's in the heart of my community. I know what it's all about, and I believe in its services, and I believe in the people running it. So I'm here to help and hopefully promote their cause, and hopefully raise a lot of money for you. Faith, you've had an excellent start, and all I will say is keep the trust will take a lot of time and a lot of energy, and as long as you can enjoy it and use that passion and use that energy and feed off the positivity, then you will do absolutely